Okay, Nancy?
I'll call the meeting of the Community Development Committee to order. And the first thing we have is approval of minutes. From April 13th. Someone wants to make a motion to,
I'll move to adopt the minutes as they're written. So, yeah.
all in favor, say aye.
Yay.
Against, no. Okay, I thought I would just go over, since we have a new member, kind of what we do. And the last major thing we did was the event application bank, and I gave you a copy of it. We're still waiting for the final from Joe Braun. There were a couple of things we weren't sure how to word, so we're waiting for him to finish that and bring it back, and then it'll go to full council once we're okay with it. So I gave you a copy of that. And the other thing, I don't know if anybody went over what the committee does with you or not, but we are responsible for the park, events, economic development, annexation, signage, housing, building use, and the cemetery. So covers a lot.
Recreation and cemetery.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And signs along the way.
And so, yeah, how to get from one to the other.
So, anyway, splash pad update. The sign should be in next week. Talked to the guy at A&A Safety, and he said they should be finished Tuesday. We went ahead and opened without them because there was a delay on them, and the weather was so nice. I didn't want to, and neither did Art, delay the opening of the splash pad. We all just decided to go ahead and open it. So those signs will be up next week. The village signs. Okay, we had talked about this before. We've got the historical signs on 68 that the ad hoc committee talked about putting in the brown ones. And then the secondary entrances, which are just a small one, take those ugly green ones down. Do we want to go ahead and do that, or is that part of the Appalachian Community Grant, or?
Well, they didn't talk specifically about signage in their meeting that I went to week before last. So I'm not really sure if they've included that in part of it. We can, but those signs are relatively inexpensive.
Right.
So.
I was going to say they're not expensive. So maybe we ought to see, I think we've made all our decisions. We need to bring to council about what we want to do on them. I know I've talked about it, but I'll go over it again. Now, what about placement of the major sign on 125? You said it couldn't go where we wanted it.
It can't. It's so rocky there, and getting over to it is hard to do. I don't think we can get wire in the ground to get lights on it. It's like slate under the ground there. I mean, it's totally.
I think for your knowledge here, what we're talking about is 125 westbound. You kind of like, there's not a lot of space where you can drop off the cliff there. Do you remember back in the day, there used to be like a fence sort of thing there? And we used to have like signs for all the churches and all this stuff. Okay. It's pretty close to that, right, Art? That we were thinking about putting like a big welcome to Georgetown sign. But what Art is saying is
It's not a good place.
you can't get the
With
electric.
that being said,
Oh.
Structure Point will be out here next week with some renderings of streetscape along there. And that's one of the things I asked them to do is
Okay.
to take a look at that sign, and they measured it out and everything. So that'll be included as part of their plan.
Okay. So that one will leave till y'all decide what you're doing with that.
Yeah, but I mean, we may be able to put it in the ground sooner.
Right,
Just depends
before.
on what their plan is or where they
Okay.
think it's best to go. I mean, they've got a specialist that specializes in village signage. So
Right.
I asked them to look at that. So, and then I'll update you on that the next meeting and let you know what they say. They'll be out here, I think, Tuesday.
All right.
Just to check, and I'm going to be calm about this. Are we going to take a vote and full council on the placement, or is that going to be our committee, or how are we going to do that?
I would say we should take a full vote.
I would agree.
And I think we need to do a full vote on the other signs also.
I think that's a good thing to do. Yeah.
And then the location for the other one, the new owner of that Carter Lumber out there, they've signed all their annexation paperwork, so we're in the process of getting that annexed in, and he'll get that cleaned out and make us a nice spot there for that sign.
It's not going to be up at the corner of 68, is it?
No, it won't be right on the corner. Probably
Okay.
not. It'll be right probably closer to the village limit when you turn on to Mount Orr Pike.
I'm just afraid if we put these historic signs up, you've already got 2 Morgan's Raiders signs. And I talked to Ned, and he said he had no problem with us taking one of those down. But you just get too many signs and nobody sees anything.
I think this one will be when you turn off 68, right before you get to the little curve,
Okay.
going past Carter Lumber, should be right in front of that Carter Lumber there. He's that nice. He's going to take those cattails and everything out of there that are growing, and that's the annexation part. And then he's going to be taking that sewer mound and everything out there and connecting to village sewer. So that front part of that property, he's probably even going to take the fence down, actually.
Yeah, we probably need to vote on that too, because I don't think we ever voted where that sign was going to go.
I agree.
So we'll have to vote on that too.
Well, we'll do that. I'll keep you updated on that. When he's
Okay.
ready to do it, we'll vote on it and have it moved out there.
Okay.
So that's not necessarily a tonight thing, is it?
No, because he's still got some work to do there. He's going to, like I said, he's going to take the fence out and
Right.
clean that whole entryway up there. So we'll figure out where to put it, and we have to see where the connection for the sewer is going to go first, because we're probably going to have to bore. He's going to have to bore either across Mount Orr Pike, or he's going to have to bore under 68 to hit our main across 68. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully it's across 68, because that'd open some stuff up then for us, right?
Well, we have sewer. We have a main over there. That's where the lift
Okay.
station is, and it's probably going to be under 68 because of the depth. There's not enough. Either way, he's going to have to put a sewer pump, a lift station type thing in on his property, because there's not enough fall to naturally gravitate the sewer into our main. So, but the best choice is probably going to be under 68 to tap in on that west or east side.
The ad hoc committee, we had, and I don't have my notes. Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, but I think we decided on what we wanted with the other signs. I think we decided size and everything after you took us a tour of Mason County.
It was a very educational tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so we can probably bring that to the next meeting, don't you think, without an ad hoc committee meeting? We know where they're going. We know well, we don't know exactly where the history ones are going, but it'll have to be on our property out on 68 coming south.
So, Bing, just for, again, there's actually 3 different kinds of signs that we're messing around with on here. There's the big sign that's currently sitting at the edge of the cemetery, which is maybe getting a new home. There's the historical markers, like for people who are historical tourism, we're going to put those up. And then the secondary entrances, right now, they're like really like
It's
little
a green.
the corporation limit, right? And that's like not exciting to anybody. So the committee, this was, wow, now like 4 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Some of the municipal workers brought out these catalogs, how like, you get specialty catalogs, whatever business you're in, they have catalogs for signs, and they like all these zillions kinds. We're going to get some, we're interested in getting some like slightly nicer, but still just metal signs, which maybe we could get to Ron so he could check them out.
Yeah, I think we decided on blue and in white, just welcome to historic Georgetown, with maybe a little white border around them. And that was it. But, and they're about the size, maybe a little bigger than speed limit signs turn on their sides. They're not square, they're rectangular, but they might be a little higher than a speed limit.
So just try to keep.
So,
keep
yeah,
you
I'll
updated.
try to get
Yeah, I
on that.
appreciate it. Yeah.
And then on the historic signs, what we talked about doing was, you know, when you're on the highway, the brown signs denote historic site. And we can do this because we own some land right there on 68. A bigger sign that would be directional signs, kind of marquee kind of things. It would just say Georgetown Historic District with an arrow and maybe have the mileage on it. And then underneath that, one that says, Grant Homestead, Grant, the school, maybe the fairgrounds, because that's also on the historic registry, and maybe Morgan's Raiders, but I think they want to keep one of those signs up. But it's more of a directional kind of thing. But we can't do it north because we don't own any land out there. And ODOT, the requirement is you have to have 50,000 people a year visit something, and you have to be on the National Registry. So they have a sign out there for the state fair, for the fairgrounds. They used to have a sign for the homestead, but I think somebody knocked it down. They never put it back up. They've never had one for the historic district. And the schoolhouse doesn't meet the requirements. So I hope
that's right.
we can talk them into kind of doing the same kind of thing, like a bigger sign with Georgetown Historic District and an arrow and then things below it. Ripley's got some really nice ones going into Ripley that they did. So anyway, that's where we are with signs.
That's what you're walking into the middle of.
Yeah.
I'm catching up on a lot of stuff, but I appreciate the updates. Yeah.
Benches. So far, we've had 18 made and delivered to date, and the one recycled one from the Kiwanis Club. So that's pretty good. An additional 19 benches this year already. And I'm not anybody else asked me about them, so I think we'll wait until people show an interest to do another.
Is there a goal or anything, or is it just, okay, I didn't know if you had a certain amount you wanted for the park?
We're not that organized, Bink.
Speaking of that, this kind of goes in line with that. Jeremiah and Tom, our street guys who take care of the park. Jeremiah reached out to Rumpke to get to see what it would cost to buy. I think, I don't remember now, 11 or 12 or 18, I don't remember, that the brown hand dumpsters and get rid of those barrels that are just tied up out there. Well, long story short, they ended up donating them. So I don't know if they're out there yet or not, but they'll be delivering them. So we'll have the brown dumpsters and we'll get rid of those nasty looking barrels. The guys dumped them themselves, so we don't have to worry about Rumpke driving a truck or anything through there. So,
Are they going to be tacked down so they don't walk off, kind of a thing? Or?
well, they'll probably do what they do now. They tie them
Right.
down. So I think they will. Yes.
Because those are nice,
Yeah, they are.
and we know what happens to nice things.
Because I can tell you, the increased traffic in the park has led to a lot of picnicking going on. So there's a ton of trash in there right now because people are using it. I mean, you go out there any given nice day and there's kids everywhere and there's families sitting everywhere having picnics. So there's a need for bigger trash cans anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Does anybody else have anything on old business?
It just occurred to me as we were talking about things, and this is like out of the blue, but we were talking about signs. Do you have any update or knowledge about our video board sign that got totaled out here? Is there?
Yeah, well, that actually belongs to the bank with
That's
our
right.
with our use, but
That's it.
that company was over there last week, and I think they're doing something with the foundation first, but they're working on it, so they're in the process of getting it put back up.
Just out of curiosity.
Been a while.
Hmm?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has, but I don't know if they had to go through legal stuff because of how we lost it.
Well, I mean, they didn't do anything this winter because of they wanted it to be nice and warm and hot, so that nothing shifted when they started putting it together, the brick and stuff. So they are working on it.
Just a curiosity question. That's all I got.
Well, on to new business then. We've talked about this, doing a 5 or a 10-year park plan, which we really, really, really need to do. We are to the point, I don't know what else we can do in the park out there. We're pretty much out of room. until we develop that other 20 acres. And that's going to be a huge process, expensive process. But, you know, obviously this one was never really planned. You know, people just kind of put things. So I do think that's something we need to start on. Art, you mentioned that you thought maybe there's somebody who might be able to give us some guidance and.
Yeah, I'll be talking to him Monday morning. That's Larry Brandstetter. They do that.
Who's he with?
Brandstetter and Carroll.
Oh, okay. You know, I don't know. Should we survey people? Should we come up with ideas first and then he comes up with an idea of how it can be done? Or, I mean, what's first?
Yeah, you have to have some type of idea what you want to do. And I know we've talked about this before, but one of the biggest things that we get requests for is a public swimming pool. But he said to me, you know, I know a lot of places don't want them, but he said they have a way of designing and building these things so they become self-sufficient, self-supporting monetarily.
Really?
Yeah. I said, well, we'll listen to that. I mean,
Yeah.
we would listen to that just to see what your plan is. And he gave me a list of places that they've done it for. But there again, you know, where do you put something like that?
Yeah. Well, because that's, you know, most places over the last 10, 15 years have closed their pools just because of the liability insurance and the cost. And, you know, you start charging people enough to maintain it, they can't afford to come. We don't want to do that. We want people to use whatever we
Right,
put out there.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we're probably all open to just about anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth just listening to and seeing it. And I'm not even ever asked the insurance company what type of liability would cost for a public swimming pool. I've not even asked that question. So,
What would be the difficulty here hiring lifeguards?
huh?
The difficulty here hiring lifeguards potentially.
Yeah.
But I think any plan we put together, I think needs to be, my opinion, ought to be fairly seriously in communication with the plans and the grants that Art has been talking about recently, because there's at least a tie-in, if not an out and out overlap. And so it would be a good idea to,
Well, I mean, we already know that one of the things we would want in a park plan would be to redo the trail. So you put it in there, and that's just one thing you check off when it gets done. Basketball court, same way. We know we're getting ready to redo that one way or the other. So you put it in the plan, and that's just another thing you get checked off.
You know, if that guy is well versed in that, he probably knows a lot of things that communities put in parks. Maybe it's best to let him kind of come in with a pick list to let this committee have a look at and say, plus, you know, whatever else people may want, but that would give us a head start
Yeah.
as to
Definitely.
what he's versed in and what other communities have found important in their parks.
And we would definitely have him here at this committee before we ever put pen to paper.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's our idea.
Do you think we'll be ready to do that soon or?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he's calling me for Monday or Tuesday, whatever day he's calling me.
Would any of that interfere with what the plans are with the Appalachian
No.
grants for the park and what have you?
No.
Okay.
No, it would all basically tie into it and just,
But this is more for the new part of the park that hasn't been, as far as I'm looking at it. I mean,
Yeah.
there may be something else. I mean, we're just about maxed out. That's why the splash pad's where it is. There's no place else to put it. So there's just,
if I'm thinking of things, I'd really like to talk to this guy, because I feel
Yeah.
like, well, the worst case scenario is we talk and we figure out what we already knew. But I'm just super curious if there's things that might mesh up, you know, and you'd hate to do say the Appalachian grant and then figure out that would have been a great opportunity while ground was broken and stuff that we could have done, blah, you know, that kind of a conversation. I think this is cheap and a ton of fun. I'd still love to get even a 9-hole disc golf course out there.
did you see there's a shop over in Williamsburg?
Yeah. Well, because they got that's a great course if somebody would maintain it, but
Yeah.
that's right there for them to do that. So that's little things oh my gosh, while we're tearing stuff apart, maybe that'd be a time to put in other ideas, you know, so the communication piece, that's all. Yeah.
So maybe next month, you think? we
Yeah,
could
I'd
get
say,
with him?
yeah, we can get him here next month.
Okay, Port Authority, I'm skipping around a little bit. Port Authority, that's kind of coming to fruition here.
Jason will be on with us tonight to present his list of potential candidates to Dale, and then ask for the council approval as a whole. But what we'll do is, if council approves that list of members, they'll just approve them blank. And then as the Port Authority meets, they'll write up their own rules and regulations, and they'll assign terms to each of those members so that there's staggered terms.
So so like how when we did the charter, we're gonna start off everybody all at once, but like, I'm making this up. Some of them have 2 years and some of them have 4 years. So it's
Yeah.
like, that's okay.
But they'll do that through, when they
Yeah,
write
yeah.
their own. So he'll be on right after public comments, unless Dale needs to move it to somewhere else, but he will be on. That's why I've got this all hooked up for him.
That's
Great.
And the Port Authority will be autonomous from the council, but working in conjunction with
Yes.
council.
The downtown revitalization, that's really gonna tie in with those grants. I mean, is there anything that we need to,
Is the grant.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that there's anything we need to do on that, discuss it,
No,
whatever.
I'd say let this plan come through. As we talk, we've got Tom Mays as our liaison to the business owners in the downtown district. He and I right now are working on a spreadsheet with the owners' contact information. I think most of the owners know that we're coming to them to see how open they are to doing something with their buildings, most of the upstairs of them, because a lot of them are empty. So the plan is to talk to each of those and offer them a structural assessment of their building. That's what we've already got. That money was included in our planning money, and they even gave us more. Like I said, the last meeting, they gave us more planning money than we intended on getting. And that was a big reason why. So all those buildings will have a structural assessment done on them.
I know some who have asked for more planning money and been turned down. So
Yeah.
that's really a good sign.
We didn't ask.
Yeah, that's really good.
Some of those buildings on Commercial Road, some of those upstairs haven't been occupied since like the 1950s.
Yeah.
So they need a lot of TLC, I'm sure.
I mean, like Tom Mays took me a tour of his building. I had never been upstairs in that building. It's huge space up there. I mean, it is huge up there. And I'm confident that they're all probably the same way. They can be remodeled for another business or to attract a different crowd to rent apartments there and just help create some activity on the square. But that's a big part of the Appalachian grant.
Most of those businesses own their buildings too, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few who rent, but not very many.
Yep.
That's a plus too.
Yep.
Are there any limitations on grant wise on what that space can and can't be, or the money can and can't be used for in terms of the space? You see what I'm saying?
No, you just have to sell it as revitalization and,
So for example, it doesn't have to be commercial per se. It could be.
no, it doesn't have to be commercial at all.
Right.
I mean,
That's
they like residential, trying to fill those spaces up so that you have more people living in your downtown area and to make it more vibrant, but they're open to businesses too. So.
I'm just curious, so there's not really any limits on that. I mean, there's common sense, but from them, there's not really any limits, which is super nice.
But there needs to be a commitment that they'll actually do something with it after it's fixed
Yeah,
up.
they'll have to sign some sub agreements.
Yeah.
With us in order to get this done. But now, right now, they don't have to sign anything. They can get that structural assessment done regardless. So
I know I'm jumping light years ahead, but would they get their own contractors, or will there be contractors that will be assigned to them to get their projects done?
we don't know that yet. Probably they would have to get subcontracted. We would be
The general.
the lead,
Okay.
and they would get subcontracted
Okay.
with a certain amount of money. Here's your money, and it goes through the village, but here's the amount you can spend, you can subcontract this out. So that's what we're looking at now, but those are questions, that's why we meet like every Friday to answer
So-
questions like that.
They'll put us in or put other people in with us on the grant,
Yeah,
other for the
and
partnerships.
it could be
and
somebody
stuff.
else that's a lead, that we just
Yeah.
put that part of the application with another, that could be Portsmouth or anybody,
Is that through the OVRDC? Are they the ones that match up or?
Yeah, that
planners?
Ken Reed that came to the meeting here.
Oh,
he-
okay.
That's his main job
Okay.
is to look at all of and to work with the other
To match everybody up.
districts and figure out what plans go where. And that's his big job for us, is to help us figure out how to match these up.
Yeah.
It's just,
In my sense, with that revitalization of the commercial area up down, it'd be great if there was one general contractor for the whole thing. That way, that there's continuity and everything getting done. And then, let either that general contractor, subcontractor, or the merchant or business owner could say, hey, can we use this group for the subbing? Otherwise, you may have a hodgepodge of, I don't want to say this in disrespect to anyone, maybe there's different quality standards
Sure.
that may be there or not, but, I don't know if that's even viable.
And tomorrow afternoon, I've got another meeting. I'll ask that question, because these are the little, those fine details like that. That's what we're having these frequent meetings for. There's still a lot of questions unanswered about this stuff. So I'll throw that one out there too.
And I would assume some of those buildings need elevators that either have to be put on the back to get access up above.
Yeah.
And, fire escapes or whatever the case may be, so.
Yeah, they would need complete.
Yeah.
And they'd have to be brought to code depending on what it was used for,
Just like my not pet peeve, but just like interest is technology wise, whether it's residential or commercial. I mean, I'm assuming they don't exactly have, Wi-Fi drops or anything like that. And it's going to need to, otherwise people are going to be less interested in using them.
There's a lot of questions that go with it. It's a pretty
That's,
mind-boggling venture when you get on there every week and you hear all the different questions and you start talking to all these people. It gets convoluted sometimes.
coordinated all. It's just, yeah.
I wonder who takes the lead, like, would Permit Central be the one that give permits, or would the head of this Appalachian grant, would they be the ones giving the permits or
For
not?
building permits, we would have to go through our
Permit
building,
Central, okay.
Permit Central.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that would be great if they would, and they may, the state hasn't made a decision. They may end up procuring construction companies in our area and in everybody's area, like they did with these planners. They may go ahead and procure them, and then the businesses can pick which one they want to do. That might be how they go through this. There's that's still questionable. So we don't know how that will play out yet.
so that structure, like all of that, like for example, just the concept of having one, like a coordinator or something like that, that's completely undecided at this point in time.
Yeah.
Is there, because I mean, I think everybody in this room has an opinion on that. Is there anybody who is like in charge of getting feedback on that? Because I'd be happy to.
Our planner is American Structure Point.
Mhm.
So they will be the person that oversees our projects in the village, and they'll take care of looking at all of that. Now, like the Grant Homestead Association, they have chosen a company called OHM Advisors. They're an engineering firm, so that's who will overlook the project. They've got big project ideas down there too, and one of those is to bring that tannery back to its original specs.
Yeah.
And to make it more like an informative museum type thing, an interactive museum. So that's one of the things they've got on their plate, and some upgrades to the boyhood home and the schoolhouse, and to tie it together with our project with the history trail and everything. So that's where the two will marry up.
That's where I'm hoping somebody's going to be like, is that Art Owens? This is going to be the coordinator, the bridge
Lead.
between the two? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it all depends on who ends up being the lead applicant. I mean, everything that goes through Georgetown will end up going through us anyway. I mean, because we're all going to be working together. This is such a huge undertaking. I'm sure we'll be working with other communities even. But our OHM will definitely be overseeing and doing the inspections and stuff on whatever's going on at the historical thing there. And then Structure Point will be taking a role and being the lead inspectors on our projects, our streetscapes and our downtown revitalization, the history trail. So it's all going to end up tying in, and it just depends on where that particular piece gets put on an application. But, me or whoever is in this seat at the time will be right in the mix, in the middle of it. I mean, that's just the way it's going to end up being.
And like you say, sections of that grant, I mean, we may end up with, so far the more successful grants they've had have been 3 and 4 counties. So there may be some other counties doing what we're doing, and they would put them with those. So that's kind of that's an OVRDC and planners thing.
Yeah, that's a big
So-
OVRDC and planning. That's correct. And
Yeah.
whoever signs off as the lead is where the money goes through. And really, they're not there to inspect each project. They're there to make sure each project gets the funding that they're promised. So but I right now, as things stand, I truly think that we're going to be our own lead applicant, because we've got so many things that OVRDC and Structure Point have already started seeing other things in other areas, whether it's 5 counties away, that relate to what we're doing. And we got an early jump on this. So people will probably get married to our application rather than us getting married to somebody else's. Now that could change. I may be wrong about that, but that's just how it works. But it's so, like I said, every week that we meet on Friday or every 2 weeks that we meet, there's always something different. I mean, there's always something new that they decided, well, let's go this route with it to make it the easiest.
Okay, the only other thing we've talked about recently that we've never come to any conclusions, we've not really talked about it too much. I've thrown it out there. Trying to improve communication and cooperation between the council, the village, and businesses. And maybe something we could do to, kind of welcome some of the new businesses, to really reach out and let them know we're happy they're here, but just make them feel like we're hearing them. What did you need? We talked about before, and it was like, okay, do we want like a business committee that meets with council, or do we want, how does that take form? I don't know if we ought to just ask the business owners what works best for you, or what do you think would work best, or I have no idea.
Is there an organized business association in the village?
No, there used to be.
Used to be a businessmen's association.
Georgetown, yeah,
60s, 50s.
long time ago. I wish there was one.
I do too. I mean, I've been talking to, what's her name, that owns a little boutique behind the courthouse, Stella Carrington. And she's going to come and talk to me about what she can do to help get the businesses involved in the Christmas parade and doing some kind of Christmas event with the businesses after the parade, so that they're open. And so she's going to be coming up to me now that school's out, and we're going to talk about that. But it would be nice if maybe we talk to her or invite her here. And
I had talked to a couple of them up on the square. Of course, Jordan was one of them, but the need for them to have some kind of, even if it's not a Georgetown business organization, a Courthouse Square. So, yourself, the Felicity Businessmen's Association did everything for that town. I mean, they really headed up everything at one time.
Yeah.
And I just think it would be really good, but I'm not the ones that have to leave work and go to the meetings. So they may not feel that way, but I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you have any ideas about ways to approach them to see what might open the door a little bit to talk? Because they'll complain. I hear things, second or third hand, and sometimes it's things that something can be taken care of, and sometimes it's just not. But I just would really like for them to speak directly to council or this committee or Art, but I don't know how to get that communication where they're comfortable with it.
How can we put something, I don't know how cluttered our web page can be. Can we put out little bulletins about, we'd love to see your businesses represented in these council meetings or these committee meetings, come and join us, blah, blah, blah. Whether that does any good or not, or whether it's a personal handshake and
Maybe you could, I don't know how many of these places might have websites or not, but maybe you create a page on your website and offer to put a link to whether it's a Facebook page or a website. And then that just kind of gets the ball rolling. Okay, look, they care about trying to help us out a little bit, and then you can approach the next.
Well, I approached you guys a couple years ago about the idea of sending out a questionnaire and featuring a business on our Facebook page and our website, but I only got 2 back.
I know.
But and I realize there's problems built into this comment that I'm going to make, but would the Chamber of Commerce be whom we might work through? And I realize why that's kind of an awkward thing, but I mean, is there a structure that they have in place? Like, as a chamber, we're going to promote, and within Georgetown, they would be somebody we would connect with.
I don't know whether they would do just specific.
Right. I think,
They're so wide,
yeah.
I didn't know if they had like pockets of okay.
Maybe we just draft a letter from Dale and say, we'd like to invite you guys to come to a meeting and discuss this, see if we can get something
We
spurred.
need to do a little research on how that we could have links to their businesses on our website. And maybe they have links to ours on their websites, so that there's, more openness as far as getting information out and about.
I can put the links on. That's not hard to do.
I would assume that they would not be opposed to having a link on there. I mean,
No, I wouldn't
There
think
to-
so.
whether it's businesses, whether it's churches, whether it's organizations, schools, whatever the case may be. Schools going to have their own thing though, but
We're working on the new website now. Now would be the time to
Yeah.
start doing that.
That might not be a bad idea to write a letter and just say that we really want to open up communication and improve cooperation with the businesses and that, and invite them to come to a community development committee and talk about how do you see that taking shape? How would that,
Yeah, possibly taking a page out of Chief Freeland's playbook. If we did it digitally, if we had a digital survey, I'm just saying it's faster and you don't have to get the stamp and all that kind of stuff to send it back in. And we know people maybe want to be heard, but they don't want to spend a lot of their time doing it. It might get more response if we did it digitally.
Yeah, I can do that. That's easy to do.
Okay. I can do it too. I'm not putting jobs on your plate. I'm just trying to say conceptually, is that something we want to,
I think it's a good idea.
yeah. And if you want me to do that, you let me know if you want me to do that.
Yeah, if you want to put one together, that's fine. That's easy to market and get out there.
When you want that by next month?
I'd like
Or
it by
before then?
tomorrow morning if possible.
It's possible. Remember, you can have it fast, cheap, or good. Pick any 2 of those 3 you can
We'll
have.
take
but you
next
can't-
month.
Okay, fine.
Last thing I had relates to the park. We've got a local business here, Amber Fletcher's cleaning business. She has offered her services to take care of the restrooms, clean them 7 days a week for free. If we'll put up a sign that said services donated by and her business. I talked to Joe about it. She's already sent me the copy of her liability insurance, and she will take care of those bathrooms 7 days a week. I just got to figure out how to get to where she can get to the supplies to do it. But Is that okay?
Unbelievable.
Super cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
it's
the
great.
restrooms or this room or,
No, just the park restrooms.
oh, the park,
two-
no, not in here.
No, just the park restrooms.
Okay.
That would save a lot of
Awesome.
things on the weekends, because I get a lot of calls during the weekends that something's overflowing or there's
Yeah.
out of paper or whatever, but she will be the contact person and she will take care of it 7 days a week. And I asked her, I said, you realize that we do that just about every day? She said, I'm willing to do it. She's all excited about it. She spends a lot of time out there with her kids anyway. So she really wants to do it. So I'm going to order some signs with her logo on them and just put them out there. The cleaning services donated by and
Very generous.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super amazing. That would be worth mentioning and like in round table or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably not, it's too soon to do that now, but I'm just saying.
yeah, we'll do
At
that.
some
Me and
point.
I'll have her here.
Right,
And-
yeah,
and-
okay,
Yeah.
that's great, yeah. Is she interested in any private residences on North Main Street as well? I'll take her up on that. She can put a sign in my yard, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Anything else anybody has?
Kind of feeling this out because this is my
Sure.
first meeting, and so I may have missed my cue on the park. But I saw some comments on Facebook, kind of asking about leagues, like softball leagues, 3-on-3 tournaments. Are we allowed? I mean, to sponsor that as a village, those kind of things.
We've had not whole baseball out there before.
Right.
And we've had, say, soccer, an organized sport.
Football, but
Yeah, we had football out there.
If somebody wanted to do that, an organization or that, would they have to have insurance? I mean, would ours cover that?
Yeah, we've got copies of the others now. That's one of our
They
things.
have
And
to
they
have
just
their own
they'll
insurance.
sign a waiver as well. The
Because you're
organization-
talking about like a 3-on-3, either a league that goes
Yeah.
6 or 8 weeks or, yeah.
I saw a softball league mentioned specifically, and do we still have a volleyball court there?
We
Yes.
do, and we're getting ready to upgrade it again.
Okay.
That thing gets in better
And
shape
it's
every
not
couple of
used
years.
very much. It'd be
Yeah.
great to get seeing volleyball going.
Yeah, if we could get a couple of leagues going, maybe even talk to the businesses about sponsoring. I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, some different things that I've got some experience running leagues and stuff like that. I
We had
don't
a
know.
softball league here in Georgetown back in the 60s and 70s, and it was great. And all of a sudden it just ended.
Yeah, so did it Bethel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there was teams all over the county that played here. But we have to make sure that we don't preempt some of the children's games and schedules. But of course, softball leagues, a lot of them were at nighttime too, with under the lights. So we don't have lights at least yet. But so I'm sure it can be structured some way, shape, or form.
That's probably what happened with all the organized kids sports with soccer and softball and basketball. And you just got to the point, especially when those people became parents, there wasn't time for them to do the other stuff, But yeah, that'd be great.
I think if we start small, maybe get the volleyball court, maybe start something with that because that wouldn't interrupt any of the other leagues that are going on. So I know a lot of people who play. We could probably get something like that going.
Could you get me like dimensions of what the court should actually be? Because I don't think that one's actually a
Yeah.
full volleyball court,
Okay.
but it can be. That's a very inexpensive thing to
Okay.
do.
Yeah, we can do that.
Make sure we get rid of all the cats so they don't use
That's a problem. That definitely is an issue.
Did you read that article I sent you?
Yes, I did. And I sent
Isn't that
I sent
interesting?
it out to the Humane Society.
The zoo, the cat people at the zoo have partnered with a couple of other, I think they're like veterinary hospital research, whatever. And there's is it a hormone you would call it?
Yeah.
Female cats. You just give it to them, you don't have to neuter them. And they had a control group, of course, then they had the group with the placebo. They followed them for 3 years. And not one of them who was given this, there were no side effects and none of them had any litters.
wow,
Yeah, unbelievable.
considering, and I realize people are doing pretty much donating, but it's still, you gotta go pick, the amount of work that's gone into our very successful program so far. This sounds like even easier.
Mhm.
Yeah, we used to have to trap them, but
They're a
Right,
lot
right,
cheaper
exactly.
though. So. So we talking about, for next time, Jeremy's talking about bringing a survey forward. Are we talking about Dale sending out a letter before the survey? And saying there's a survey we'd really like for you to online and, okay. So maybe in a month we can finalize.
Yeah, I found University of Wisconsin does a lot of this kind of stuff with small town economic growth, like not just they've got templates of surveys, but also like how to approach it, how not to approach it, that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna like study up on these guys because they're kind of smart at what they do, and then customize it to Georgetown. But this is we got somebody to work with here.
Well, if there's nothing else, that'll give us a little time if we need a break before the council meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
All
Opposed? We are adjourned.
right.